All right, so we're gonna talk about some comics today, and you might notice that I don't talk about specific comics very much. Um, and I haven't even watched the Loki trailer. Maybe we can watch that if I can get away with it without getting swatted for it. I don't talk about specific comics much. When I do talk about comics, I'll talk about characters and whatnot. Like I'm currently on pause working on the Wolverine video. That's still going to be a while, but and the reason is because if I started talking about specific comic book stories as they're happening, like here's this is going on right now, the whole channel would become that. And I know some of you are like, well, what's wrong with that? Well, I tried it before and it didn't work so well. Not enough people are willing to watch on a regular basis to keep up with what's going on with comics all the time. And I don't have the fucking budget to cover everything all the time and consistently. Like sometimes I might not be able to get comics one week because I got some other shit I got to do. So that's why I don't typically do that. But when it comes to Fall of X, I did want to cover that because it's significant. I have not. I think I have it on my list of things to read, but no, I haven't. So if you haven't read the Hellfire Gala 2023 and you don't want spoilers for what's going on with House of X Krakoa era of X-Men, you're not going to want to watch this because there's going to be some spoilers. You know what I'm saying? 1 second. I'll be right back. Got to fix something here. Sorry. 1 second. 1 freaking second. I'm going to play another thing while I fix this situation. Like basically the thing that I think is different between fandom and anti-fandom is empathy. The ability to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, to identify with their suffering, even their suffering, their struggles, even if you don't relate to it, right? Like, because I'm not black, but I can understand, kind of generally what it's like to, shit, that must really be awful. Whenever cops treat you that way or whatever. So like I empathize with that. These types of people, and this is what I think the deal is on the right generally, is they just struggle and sometimes just can't identify with perspectives that aren't their own. And it's really as simple as that. And they'll do anything to kind of maintain that. Anyway. All right, I'm back. Okay. So yeah, had to deal with some Gordy business. Gordy business dealt with. Whew. That clip that I just played, that's actually from the interview that I did with the guy for documentary series that's supposed to come out at some point. He hadn't secured distribution yet, though they have a documentary already out that is on Amazon. You can buy it or watch it or whatever. So yeah, hoping that still happens because I'm supposed to be in a documentary not alongside, but like my interview clips would be featured in maybe even right next to Stan Lee. So like before or after. Where was I? Oh yeah, House of X. Fall of X. Too many of X's. If you're familiar with the channel, I'm a big X-Men fan. Have been for a long ass time. I got into X-Men around the same time a lot of people did, if you're of a certain age. And that's when a lot of people got into comic books before a lot of them, a couple of years later, got out of them really fast. And then the comic book industry basically died. But so yeah, I got into X-Men comics in, with the 92 X-Men, Jim Lee, Claremont. Claremont was only on it like 3 issues before he pieced out. And I never did understand it. I didn't really understand why when I was younger. And then more recently, I've kind of read through, the last part of the Claremont run, as in like before the relaunch with X-Men. And then I read that. And it's like very clearly there was an editorial mandate to be like, there needs to be more action. This needs to be nonstop action, less of this, fucking melodrama stuff. And Claremont was like, oh, but I like the melodrama. But yeah. So Fall of X is it's known it was coming for a while. They announce it, they promote it. I wasn't sure what that was gonna mean because like there was Inferno. They did Inferno like 2 years ago now, or a year and a half or something. And essentially they kind of promoted that as like being the end of Krakoa in some ways, because it was presumed that like Mystique was gonna basically fucking burn Krakoa to the ground or whatever. So yeah, something like that. Yep. They just handed it to, yeah. I mean, imagine that is kind of shitty, to be honest. They're like, hey, Chris, we know you've been working on this for like 15 years, and you can still work on it, but you're just basically going to be filling in the details of what this artist is going to set up for you. He's a newer guy. He's kind of in like, I would be kind of insulted, I think, if I was Chris Claremont. But yeah, trying to think of where to start here. I had it all in my head earlier, and then things happened, and I got all disrupted, and I'm trying to reorganize. Fucking camera, stupid thing. All right, so true. I mean, it could be said that like, I mean, I know Stan Lee deserves credit, and I'm not one of those people that's like Stan Lee doesn't deserve any credit or whatever. Those people annoy the fuck out of me, and I think they're just saying that to be, contrarians. But it's arguable, that Claremont is more responsible for what, really, it's not even arguable. It's kind of obvious that like more responsible for what became known as identifiable as the X-Men than Stan Lee was. Especially when you consider that the original run of X-Men was canceled after, I don't remember how many issues, 40 something, 30 something. But nobody was reading it, X-Men did get canceled, the original run, in the 60s. And like, so if you're aware of how that went down, the, like for one thing, Mr. Eric July, he likes to lie a lot. And I've talked about some of those lies, but sometimes he uses the truth to deceive. And so what I mean by that is he has made videos, at least one that I know of, maybe more, saying that, actually Stan Lee did not create the X-Men as an allegory for civil rights. That's not why, it wasn't in his mind or whatever. And then I've seen people arguing with him and saying, no, he did too. Stan Lee created it for that reason. But the fact is he didn't. And Stan Lee has said that he wasn't, that like, I mean, now he probably did to some degree on a subconscious level or whatever, but like, that's not how they were written originally. There wasn't that subtext, that theme wasn't really there. They were just kind of weirdos. They're, outcasts or whatever, but the specific connection to civil rights movement that was going on at the time was not there. But Eric July has used that fact to basically dismiss the idea that they should be used for that at all. When the fact is, yeah, that's true. They weren't created specifically with that in mind. But that version also wasn't popular. The version that was popular was the version in, Giant Size X-Men #1, where they literally, were like Lin Wein and Dave Cockrum were literally like, let's bring, we got a Russian guy, we got, the Native American guy that's just like literally the most diverse freaking cast that ever had been put in comics, as far as I know, and it was intentionally so. And that's the one that took off. That's the one that took off, and that's the one that set the X-Men in on its trajectory to become the series that has the highest selling issue of anything ever. Which is X-Men #1 from '92. I'm pretty sure that's still got the record. And so yeah, Eric July likes to use the truth to be deceptive and act like that because Stanley didn't have that in mind necessarily whenever he created it. That means it shouldn't be seen that way. When it's it's bullshit. It's bullshit, and to try and dismiss the entire thing, the thing that makes the X-Men popular, the thing that everybody gets out of the X-Men. Even my fucking dumbass at 10 years old, living surrounded by a bunch of country bumpkins and rednecks, and my dad used to say the N-word and shit like that a lot. And I had no context for, I just knew racism. It was all around me and shit. And then I'm sitting there reading X-Men and I'm like, oh, I get this. Yeah. Okay. And that's basically what I fucking started building my, my understanding of empathy for people with different lived experience on that and Star Trek: The Next Generation. So that's one of the reasons that X-Men is so profound and powerful to me. Yep. Well, John, are you talking about the classic, or is that what it was? Classic X-Men? Wait, the word what does that mean, man? I don't understand. What does that mean? Yeah, just like The Next Generation. If Gene Roddenberry was left to his devices with The Next Generation, it would have failed. I hate to say, these people that are, and that's not to say that he doesn't deserve respect, but these people that are just the creator's vision, the creator's vision. It's the creator's vision is often very limited and often not. It's just a starting point, right? And it's we're not, none of these people should be held up as gods, and they're the thing that they created is it should never be changed from what was originally on the page or whatever. It's reactionaries and anti-fans who use that kind of framing to shit on whatever they want to, really. Claremont came on in much earlier than 96, man. I don't remember what year it was. It was at least 78, 79, something like that. Are you serious right now? There's literally websites dedicated to him. There's a Twitter account called Claremont's X-Men Run, and it's got a shitload of followers. No, you're not. You're far from the only one who appreciates his X-Men run. I mean, I don't know how you got to look around a little bit more. Oh, I see. My bad. Yeah. I mean, you got to think that even if it was, it's there inherently no matter what. That's the thing is even if Stan Lee wasn't writing it that way, if you have a story about a team of weirdos, they're different and they're outsiders and everybody hates them and stuff, even if he's not thinking about civil rights or anything like that, and it's just kind of a plot that he thought of, which he might have actually pulled a little bit from Doom Patrol there. But even if it's just a setup that he thought of and thought that's something to write about, because that's the stage he was at right then. He was I got to think of a new thing because everything I'm doing is a hit. And so I just got to crap out another one. And that the X-Men was at the end of his run of hits, right? hit characters, hit teams toward the end. And so, yeah, it's just there. Like, even if you don't mean for it to be, it's easy to see that could be. It's right there. It's just right there. No, my bad for assuming, man. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call you out. Shouldn't have done that. Yeah. Did not know that. I'll have to look into that. Those are all good ones. So, well, good news is Louise Simonson's coming back to work on Jean Grey. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I agree with all of those. I would add Hickman. I'd say Hickman is right up there. You know, I mean, just what Hickman set into motion, and I know he's controversial. Not everybody loves his stuff. Even if you don't like his writing, I can kind of understand that. If you haven't read his Krakoa era, or if you have read it and you think it sucks, even if he's not the one writing, and you still think, oh, this sucks, I don't know what to tell you, man, because holy shit. True. Very good. Very good. It's one of the classics, or, you know, recent classic. So, yeah. The X-Men have had a rough go of it prior to 2019, and I mean on the meta sense. Yeah, I'm about to kick you out of my chat with that shit. I know you're just joking, but like, come on now. That's the one we all want to forget. I mean, we're all biased, man. There's none of this is facts. You know what I'm saying? We're all biased for some reason or another. So, yeah, if you've been following the X-Men for a long time, like I have, after Morrison came on in 2000, and you know, on the back of the popularization of the X-Men via the movie, which was successful, Morrison, you know, kind of revamped it, and back then I didn't like that. I didn't like that run. I didn't like Morrison for a long time. I was like, oh, what did they do to my X-Men? You know, like the leather and stuff like that. There's still stuff I don't like about it. Like, I'm not a big fan of Frank Quitely. I mean, I am on certain things, but like, I don't know. I just don't like some of his superhero stuff. Don't fucking trigger me, man. Don't. I've literally got Romulus as part of a trigger warning in my intro to the Wolverine video. I'm like, you know, mentions of suicide and abuse and you know, trauma and Romulus, because holy shit. So yeah, anyway, I gotta stop reading you guys. Got good comments here, but I gotta pay attention. My ADHD is out of control. Yeah, so I didn't like that when I was young. I wasn't prepared for it. I was, you know, a young chap of like, I don't know, 17, 18, some shit like that. And I dropped X-Men. I dropped comics around that time, actually. But not just because of Morrison, because like, you know, I was playing in bands and shit, and I thought that I was too cool for comics for a while. Which ironically is very uncool to think that. The story overall I love now. The like just what happens in it, it's all great. I love characters like you know, Quentin Quire. I love all the weird shit that I didn't like back then. I used to hate Beak. Beak was like the freaking avatar for everything I hated about it, because in my mind, then, being a dumbass, you know, I thought that evolution meant only something that's beneficial to like should be make them cool. Like I was thinking that evolution and mutant sense in X-Men meant that you had to have a cool power, right? Of course, I'm not thinking about several Morlocks that existed already, but you know, whatever. And then, so in my mind, I was just like that's not what evolution's supposed to be. Where you just he's a bird, but he can't even fly. That's stupid. He's got fragile bones too. He's weak. I was so wrong. I was so wrong because for one thing, that's not an accurate understanding of evolution necessarily, and another thing is it's fiction, science fiction, in fact. Another thing is that, as I said, there had already been Morlocks and other mutants that had existed that didn't have cool powers. They were just kind of like, well, this is inconvenient, you know, like. I don't know what this. Another one for the books, man. I'm telling you, I'm one day going to have just like a 5-minute, 10-minute long video reel of just like into B 1986's comments that are just like, what? More context, please. Yeah, Zorn. So, point being, after that, things got a little weird in a really not good way. And you know, sometimes it was hit or miss. So actually, my bad. So right after that was Astonishing XMen. So you had what's that guy's name? We don't say his name around here anymore. I don't know. He came on and he did a really fucking solid run. It was very different, but more traditional, back to roots, but also, you know, like a lot of the messy stuff that I found messy and still is kind of messy, but in a good way, I think now that Morrison did, Whedon did away with. He kind of like trimmed everything down. He got them back in superhero costumes. We don't. You know, cool stuff like brought Colossus back. Fucking can't lose there. You know, some really, really good, you know, introduced characters like Armor. Good character. You know, and then Cassidy art is very good. Very, very good. Just read that not too long ago. Yeah, and then you know that run ended kind of weird, but also kind of cool, I guess. Is like the tragedy of Kitty Pryde being lost in space in the tip of a space bullet. But yeah, and then from there, you get what Hickman called the lost decade. Oh yeah, she debuted in I think it was like 2005. Yeah, you get what was called the Lost Decade in House of X, Powers of 10 by Hickman, and that's where things kind of go off the rails. It starts off kind of strong because, you know, so if you're not familiar with what happened there, you had sorry, House of M happened. Man, it's like all these House of and letters and stuff, trying to remember which one's which. House of M happened, and that's when Scarlet Witch freaking depowered mutants all over. Yeah. Yeah. We're getting there. We're getting there. 20 years ago, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Depowered mutants. No more mutants. All that, which they never really explained, I don't think, why there were still about 200 left. When she said no more, she didn't say 198 mutants left. But that's what happened, you know, because you got to have a story. And of course, just conveniently, it's all the cool ones, right? Like, what if Wolverine and Cyclops and Storm and like Nightcrawler and like we're all like part of the ones that lost their powers, right? Instead, it's like Jubilee and Beak, I think, or something like that. Yeah. So, and it was a cool setup. Yeah, they have main character shields for sure. They might have explained it in some way that like maybe she excluded them because she knew that they were heroes or whatever the fuck or something. I don't know. Who knows? but it was a good setup for a story, and then there was some good stories that spun out of that. But generally, it became not fun to be an X-Men fan because everything was extinction level, literally. Like, literally every story was just basically, oh, if this happens, we're all gonna die forever. And that should be, that's an overhead, that's like a always lurking in the shadows of an X-Men story should be the fact that mutants are at risk. But like when it's like just right on the nose like that every single time, it gets a little, it's like watching Battlestar Galactica, except yeah, it's kind of like that. Battlestar Galactica, the reboot, it's one of my favorite shows, but it can be a little hard to watch in a short amount of time, even though that's what I want to do typically when I watch it. It's like, oh, another episode, let's do it. But it's like exhausting, man, because every danger that pops up is like potential end of human race or whatever. Yeah, it was Decimation. Then there was Deadly Genesis. That was a good one for sure. It's emotionally just nonstop. And I just read the other day, and this is where I got back into comics again. I've read everything since then. I didn't actually read the Whedon stuff as it was happening, believe it or not. I had no appreciation for Whedon then. And then so I got back into comics right around Civil War. And then I was all way back in after that. And so then I caught up with House of M and the Decimation stuff. And then the first event that happened as I was current again was Messiah Complex. And I went to my first convention around that time. I met frickin' Mark Silvestri, who did a lot of the art in Messiah Complex. That was really cool. And Messiah Complex still holds up as just like, it's a pretty good, fun, somewhat badass, somewhat, I don't know, unnecessary kind of a event. But it's a good crossover. You get all the different X characters and stuff like that. They're all, the story is pretty slim. Like there's not a bunch of fat on it, like I could say that there is on some of the Claremont events back in the day. And then after that, it just becomes like there's like 3 sequels that revolve around Hope being the Messiah, and then nothing really came of that. Not anything that like what was seemed to be promised. You know what I mean? Like, so the next significant thing to happen after that was Avengers versus X-Men. And it's a mixed bag. It definitely, I think it got better whenever it became not Avengers versus X-Men so much. So like the first several issues is literally Avengers versus X-Men stuff happening. And then they are fighting on the moon and the Phoenix is coming. And they're, you know what I mean? And Iron Man has created Phoenix killer armor. Give me 1 second. And Iron Man fucking shot the Phoenix with his Phoenix gun thing, and it split into 5 parts and went into 5 of the X-Men. That's when I think Avengers vs. X-Men got cool, because it was unpredictable. It's like, oh shit, what is happening now? I did read Secret Invasion. It compares very little. It has very, very little to do with, I mean, basically the broadest stroke of Skrulls have invaded and are pretending to be other people to take over Earth. That's basically it. That's it. Yeah. We're probably going to talk about Secret Invasion on Wednesday with the initiative, by the way, because there's quite a lot of some takes going around. But What? I don't know what's happening here. Anyway. So, yeah. And from there, eventually at the end of Avengers versus X-Men, Hope, who, was presumed by Cyclops and others, was going to be like, the Phoenix was going to come to her. And who knows why he thought this is like just big risk, actually. Phoenix is going to come to her. She's going to bond with the Phoenix or whatever, because she's got red hair. So, of course, that's what's going to happen. No, I mean, when she was born, she like basically broke Cerebro, and mutants don't normally register or get their powers until puberty. So being born and fucking breaking Cerebro like that is a pretty big deal. I get it. Cyclops is still being a little bit headstrong on that. Imagine that. Cyclops being headstrong. We're not doing Secret Invasion takes right now. We're not doing it. Don't make me turn this stream around. So you got you get finally by the end, what ultimately ended up happening is, because Hope wanted the Phoenix to come to her, Cyclops did too, but the Avengers are like, we got to kill the Phoenix because it's the Phoenix. You know what I mean? And they're focused. The Avengers are focused on the death part of the Phoenix. The X-Men are focused on the resurrection part of the Phoenix. And it gets a little bit of both. So she ends up bonding with it after, I think, Scarlet Witch teaches her some stuff. I don't remember what it was. She like takes her to Kunlun, I think, and I don't remember, man. Teaches her how to use some powers or whatever the hell to control the chaos or some bullshit. And I actually do like comics, believe it or not. And then it comes to her, and she basically becomes the White Phoenix, the white version. And goes around flying around the earth, doing some magic Phoenix stuff. And then 5 new mutants pop up. 5. Oh yeah, okay. Iron Fist is involved. True. So but I'm not a real fan, dude, because I don't literally buy comics every single week, so I'm not a real fan. That's what I was told. They did become the Dark Phoenixes. So yeah, some of that the side stuff, just the battles, those were the better parts of that story, like the fighting with just Gambit versus Captain America, whatever type shit. It's good stuff. Literally talking about AVX, yeah. I mean, really not as many times as you'd think. I mean, so after the original time that the Dark Phoenix saga, there was really, I'd have to look it up, but I don't think it's been, I don't feel like it's been done too much, honestly. Like especially in Morrison's run, it had played a big role, but it wasn't like a big deal, if that makes any sense. Like, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, so freaking 5 new mutants, whatever. And I don't even remember what happened after that, to be honest. It kind of becomes a blur. I don't think I'm caught up with a lot of that. That was around the time of the fuck, I don't remember. Somebody have to fill me in, I think. Yeah, in the wake of AVX, you get Uncanny Avengers, which was really good, and we're about to get another one. We're about to get a new Unity Squad. Unity Squad's back, bitch. You know what I'm saying? Which brings us to the reason why the Unity Squad is coming back. Spoilers for House of X, Fall of X. Let me going to pull open some images here, guys. So if you don't want to see these images, you don't want to know what happens. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what happens. Because, like, right. Axis kind of sucks. I'll be honest. I mean, I really wanted to like it. I really wanted to like Axis, but some cool stuff comes out of it. But yeah, not. And then there's a Original Sin, kind of sucks too. Okay, so I'll explain. So during Avengers versus X-Men, about halfway through or so, a friend and I were talking. This was back whenever I used to write for a nerd website, so I was actually writing articles about it as it came out. And I posted a theory. So after talking to my friend, who was the editor in chief, I was the managing editor, and I was like, he's like, well, what do you think is going to come of this? Do you think the Avengers are going to win or the X-Men are going to win? And I was like, honestly, knowing Marvel, they're going to end up, kind of just like, it's going to end up basically being a draw, and then they're going to do a team up after and have like a new series called Uncanny Avengers or some shit. So I was right. That's exactly what happened. And so what it was is, up until that point, the X-Men had always been treated as like somehow different from the Avengers, and it's sometimes still a little weird that like, why are people cool with certain superheroes that have powers as long as they're not mutants? But if they're a mutant, then it's a problem, right? It's kind of weird, but like, that's actually a problem that the MCU is going to be facing pretty soon. Nonetheless, what happened then was basically the Avengers decided to, Captain America in particular, had realized that they had not done enough to protect mutants. That basically they had been, somewhat complicit in a way to the kind of attempted exterminations and stuff of mutants, because they didn't prioritize the mutants as like a protected class kind of thing. So the Unity Squad was created to foster goodwill on behalf of mutants. So you get Havoc, becomes the team leader at one point. Was that right at the beginning? I forget. You get, Alex Summers becomes the leader, so it's like Captain America, Rogue, Havoc, Deadpool ends up on there. Yeah. Yep. Well, and I don't know if that's the only reason it exists, but it definitely, yeah, wasn't that great. Thor and Gunfire? Oh, Sunfire. It's like, who the fuck is Gunfire? Yeah. Oh, she didn't exist or something anymore. I think that's what happened. Like, she basically got written from reality or some shit, from what I recall. Yeah, yeah. Retcon, retcon. I don't know. I don't get what you mean here, man. Like, I don't get what that means. Oh yeah, yeah. That's what happened, right? Shit. God damn it. Okay, so the first thing that the Unity Squad ended up dealing with was the fact that at the end of Avengers versus X-Men, Cyclops, who had been growing increasingly radical in previous years, basically between, between Decimation, like House of M, and then he had just he had become Magneto, essentially, and a lot of people, God damn it, I'm sorry. A lot of people didn't like that. A lot of people think that was out of character for Cyclops. I think that if you think that was out of character for Cyclops, you hadn't been reading the comics at the time. Um, Everything made sense to me that Cyclops became that way. because he was. You know what? I'm going to be getting into it in the Wolverine video. Ironically, I'll be talking about Cyclops a little bit because it has to do. This exact topic has to do with the main theme of my Wolverine video. So set that aside. At the end of Avengers versus X-Men, he's got the Phoenix Force. He's the last one left with any Phoenix Force. He's been stealing it from the others, basically. And he fucking murders Charles Xavier. Just murders him. Just blows his ass into oblivion. And, not cool. Not a good idea. Not his best move, so to speak. Yeah. I mean, what do you think Magneto is? You know what I'm saying? Like, Magneto is generally not like a bad guy, right? Like, Magneto has everything typically that Magneto has done, as fucked up as it may have been, whatever was, it was maybe misguided, maybe too extreme. Schism comes in right between the two, 2010, I think. So Schism was between when the decimation happened. So 2010. Somebody can check me on that, but I think that was the year, because the X-Men were broken in half, split in half whenever Avengers versus X-Men happened. So really, it was like Avengers versus X-Men in a way, because there was kind of two different factions of X-Men at the time. Give me 1 second. I'm just gotta grab some more water. I'm really sorry, guys. I'm just completely fucking not on point today.
From Captain Kano, what's up with the Geeks and Gamers hate? Never seen the channel, but I'm just wondering what's the stitch. Okay. I mean, I can't go through everything that's wrong with them. There's a lot of issues I have with Geeks and Gamers, but I don't like to focus on them because it just gives them more attention. But Geeks and Gamers, if you spend a year of your time after the first trailer comes out going, this movie is shit, only weirdos are going to like it. It's going to be about feminism. It's going to be about racial diversity. It's going to be about identity politics. It's going to be about this. It's going to be about that. And they do that for a whole year. Do you actually believe that the people that watch that or the people that say that are going to go into a movie and give it a fair shot? And this is a genuine question. Do you believe people that make that kind of content will go into a movie and go, I'm going to be open-minded about this, and then my opinion coming out of it is going to reflect what I personally feel about it after watching the movie?
No. You can go into a movie thinking that it's not going to be good, but that's a difference than spending X amount of time beforehand talking shit about it and stuff like that. Do you think they're going to really change an hour? It's like, oh, okay, I spent a year talking ass about this, whatever it might be.
It's not financially beneficial to them to change their mind.
No. Even if they did like it, they're going to activate the alter ego, aka Eric, and rant and review on it.
I'm just saying, like it is not financially beneficial for them to change their mind. Let me say this again. It is not a good way to make money for them to spend a year shitting on something and then watching it going, oh, I was wrong. It's actually pretty good. Because
Alrighty. Thank you. Sorry. I'm back. Yeah, so, and I will, 2011, thank you. So I'll definitely be getting into that specific era because that is a point of great interest for me as someone who is doing a video about Wolverine's characterization and the fact that Wolverine is the only superhero, major superhero in regular continuity who has continued to evolve and grow as a character. And those of you who have read, read comics enough, you're probably thinking about that right now and going, fuck, he's right. You know I'm right. When you think about the fact that every other character may have some moments of progression, but they typically kind of take two steps for, a step forward, two steps back kind of thing. Think about Peter Parker, right? He will have some stuff go on where he's like, becomes a CEO or whatever the hell. Not that that's progression or anything. But then he's right back to like, now I'm just a down on my luck loser, stuff like that. Wolverine, though, from the moment that Origin happened, that was the first. You know what? I'm not going to sit here and just tell you my whole video. I'm going to wait until you see the video. God damn it! Stop trying to get me to do it. I think that's really manipulative of you guys to do that to me. Anyway, yeah. Okay, so where was I? I'm all over the place. That's for sure. Now we're going to look at some images because House of X came along. House of X, Powers of 10. And that was supposed to be, you know what? Before we even get there, I got to do one more. If you've read House of X, Powers of 10, any of that, and you're like an X-Men fan, but you have not read the stuff that came directly before it, I mean, right before it, the Rosenberg stuff. There's like Rosenberg and a few other, like 3 different writers were working on it, but I think it was mainly Matthew Rosenberg. Uncanny XMen, numbers 1 through, I think it's like 16 or 17 or something like that. You should read it because it's fucking good. And if that had been the direction that they decided to continue going with or whatever, but that would have been cool. It'd be fine with that. But like, I'm much happier with what they ended up doing, but still, I think that they were determined to get the X-Men back on course into something that people people were excited to read about again, right? So in that era, that, you know, kind of 2 years of comics or so, I think it was 2018, Uncanny X-Men 2018. It starts with starts with the arc called X-Men Disassembled. And if you know about when they use that disassembled word, what that means, then yep, it's that. The X-Men get disassembled. But it's really, really good. Yeah, sorry. Missing some questions here, but chat's got it. You guys got it. So I'm going to pull up some images from that actually, because man, really, I kind of want to do a video on it just because if you haven't heard about it or read about it, you really should. It's underappreciated, I think. Not the least of which reason you should read it is it is the return of Wolverine to the X-Men and the return of Cyclops as you know and maybe don't love him, but in the traditional way, kind of. So try and find a good one here. You know what? We'll just look at them all. Fuck it. Do it live. Why is it? Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is around the time that the I completely forgot to mention the original 5. Beast went back in time, fucking said, you know what? The X-Men's mutants are all fucked up. X-Men's all fucked up. What if I brought the original X-Men to the future to see what's going on, and that will change something somehow? Stupid Beast. And if you've been reading recently at all, you know, really stupid Beast. He's off the fucking rails. So yeah, they brought these original 5 back from like right at the beginning of X-Men canon. Brought them to the future. They had these whole different crazy experiences than what they did. You know, some of them met their future selves. That's how Iceman realized he was gay, was because somehow the younger one figured it out before the older one did. Whatever. Okay. There was some good stuff in there, and the intentions were good. I just think that it wasn't really planned out well enough. And that's when you had like the young Cyclops was on the Champions. He became friends with, and I think, did he date Ms. Marvel? Did they date? I don't remember. But there was some cool stuff that came out of it. They all had these very, very different experiences. But then extermination happened. And that's when Ahab came, to kill them all. That's when Kid Cable came back from the future, killed Old Man Cable, became the new Cable for a while. And yeah, so whenever these younger X-Men finally did go back to their original time period, they forgot their experience, so they don't know that they experienced all that stuff. But their older selves did absorb those experiences as having had them when so it's like it's kind of it's comic books, man. It's comic books. If you don't like it, stop reading comic books. But yeah, so right at the end of that was when this was going on. And at the very end, in fact, of Extermination, you see Kid Cable bringing a beer to somebody. Because, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, Cyclops died in Death of X. Fuck. So Death of X was whenever it became very, very obvious that Ike Perlmutter was trying to push the Inhumans on people to try and make us accept them instead of mutants. Because they didn't have the fucking movie rights. So, you know, they're like, well, we have the Inhumans. I'm an old man who doesn't fucking know anything about these characters or these stories. So, well, I don't see the difference between the Inhumans and the X-Men. So let's just make people like the Inhumans now. And yeah, you get Inhumans versus X-Men, where the Terrigen Mist that creates Inhumans just so happens to also kill mutants. What? Can you be any more obvious than that? To what you're trying to do? You know what I mean? And it becomes a whole thing, and it sucked. It wasn't very good. Actually, I've read it. For what it is, it's not the writer's fault that it sucks. I'll say that. The writing is it's as good as you can do with a forced ass plot, a forced ass editorial mandate like that. Oh no, I've covered them. I got some coverage of them for sure. Anyway, I think it was it Gillen that wrote that Death of X or Inhumans? I don't forget. Anyway, so shortly after that, you have Death of X. That's where Cyclops had apparently, he'd gotten the virus, and actually, never mind. You know what? I'm not getting into the details there. Cyclops died. The version of Cyclops that was the radical, the revolutionary Cyclops, the one that everybody was pissed off at, that Wolverine thought was, fuck, you're crazy, man, putting these kids into war situations. I'm going to start a school. And Wolverine became a headmaster of the Jean Grey Institute of Higher Learning or whatever. Yeah, that's what happened. So then at the end of all that, then Wolverine freaking died before that. God damn it, I completely forgot. A few years before that, Wolverine died in The Death of Wolverine. Generally a pretty good story. Good death. And then, let's see. So Wolverine came back around the time of Infinity Wars. I guess right before that or so. Because when he came back, he had a freaking Infinity Stone for whatever reason. Yep, Old Man Logan joined the regular Marvel Universe for sure. Jeff Lemire and Charles Soules. Okay, thank you. Man, Dr. Weird, you got the facts coming in here. Appreciate that. I'm I'm just rattling all this stuff off the top of my head in case you can't tell. That's why it's not in order. Where does Old Man Logan fit in my summary? You mean the character? Because like as far as the story itself, like the original story doesn't fit into it at all. But the character, you know, he was just a way to have Wolverine in the Marvel Universe without it literally having Wolverine. You know what I mean? So it was just it was fine. I think they did some cool stuff with it. They obviously kind of did that into the same, like you said here. They did that to coincide with, the movie coming out that they was kind of loosely based on Old Man Logan. But yeah. Thanos snapped him out of existence. What are you talking about? Thanos didn't snap anybody. It was a spoiler alert for Infinity Wars. That was Gamora. that was played the role of Thanos in that one. And when she snapped people into two people into one body or whatever the hell. That's a whole other story. That's actually a fun event, especially Infinity Warps. The after that, it's crazy. Good times. Okay, so at this point in the comics, what you see right here on screen, Uncanny X-Men. I'm trying not to do I don't want my cursor to flip out. It's going to do it. Oh, it's not doing it. Whoa. Kamala Kang and Arachnite. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah, and then he came back, and that's when Gamora cut his head off. Okay, so the cool thing about this is that for about, well, I guess 11 issues here, you just get this long, uninterrupted story of, at first, all this crazy shit's happening all over the earth. And what's coolest about this is, on an editorial level, you can tell that whoever the editor was at the time told Rosenberg and the other writers basically just like, so we're going to relaunch the X-Men with some crazy new status quo in 2019. But until then, you get to tell the last X-Men story. It's very clear that's what they were told. Just like, you're telling the very last X-Men story ever. So whatever you think that looks like, do it, make it happen, right? And yeah. And then so here's the thing.
Oh, fuck yeah, I'm hard as a rock.
Okay. And so what you get is crazy shit happening all over the earth. Nobody can figure out why. Someone has kidnapped freaking Kitty Pryde, Senator Allen, who is he's the new kind of anti-mutant guy, and then also Apocalypse. So somebody who has the power to kidnap Apocalypse and just has him strapped to a fucking wall. Turns out, okay, spoiler alert, it ends up being a battle between Legion and X-Man, because X-Man, if you're familiar with him, he's Nate Summers from the Age of Apocalypse reality. He has decided that, well, he's dying and he has all this power. He's just presumably, theoretically, he's always been the most powerful mutant, right? It's just no limit to what he's potentially capable of. And he proves it in this, because he just starts kind of remaking the world in his image kind of thing. He doesn't do a great job at it. At first, he has the 4 horsemen of salvation. Yeah, he becomes ex-Jesus, right? So ex-Jesus, he's literally got robes and shit. I remember I wasn't reading comics at the time, the X-Men comics, and I remember seeing promotions for this. What the fuck is happening? Because you had let me find some, because holy shit. There we go. Yeah, that's the good shit right there. Oh man. Come on, share it. What's going on, man? Okay, there we go. You got ex-Jesus. This is, and for those that aren't aware, this is what Cable would be had he not been implanted with the transmode virus as a baby. If he was allowed to grow into a normally physically healthy being. Psychologically healthy, X-Man is not, right? Well, I don't feel like they waste him. I just feel, and this wasn't wasted. I feel like this is a really good use of him, honestly. If you haven't read it, I'd check it out. So he creates the 4 horsemen of salvation. And that's Magneto, the Blob, Angel, and who was the other one? Omega Red. And he goes about trying to save the world in his mind. It's pretty crazy. So this story actually takes place it starts with these issues and goes through the end of Disassembled, which I think is 10 or 11 parts. And then it ends because seemingly all of the X-Men die. Just dead. just dead. And well, look, let's be honest, it's kind of random sometimes who Apocalypse chose for his horsemen as well, right? Well, he hates that there's still wars and people bigotry and all this stuff. Like he's right on the problems, right? Like he recognizes the correct problems of the Earth and humanity, but he just wants to force things to change in ways that aren't going to work because, they're systemic, and you can't just like force people to change with a magic wand and then expect there to be no, consequences, and there are, right? So, well, lucky for you, this is before Dawn of X. This is way before. Oh, what do you mean some of the Comicsgate channels hate this era? All Comicsgate channels hate all eras. if they're claiming Comicsgate and they're not, and they're proper Comicsgate, so to speak, they will say everything sucks these days. They don't even, it's, yeah. Anyway. So what ends up happening is by the end, he can't quite defeat the X-Men the way and make things happen the way that he wants to. So he gets rid of them by sending them to his own little pocket dimension kind of thing. And that's when the Age of X-Men begins. And you get, similar to Age of Apocalypse, where he was created, where he's from, you get 4 or 5 different new titles starting at number 1 miniseries. That where all of the characters are now in this new reality. None of them know that they're from another reality. The status quo is very different. It's basically communism in a way. Yeah, it's just crazy. But during that time when they all disappear, the world presumes that they're dead. All the X-Men are dead. There's only a few mutants left. Like this is the last days of mutant kind, right? And in that time is when Cyclops and Wolverine happen to come back. So Cyclops and Wolverine come back and say they're like, "Hey, we just came back. Where the fuck is everybody?" But it's cool. The point I'm trying to get to is it's really freaking awesome that Cyclops and Wolverine got several issues together to kind of get back to, working order, so to speak. Like the sins forgiven kind of thing. It's just like, all right, well, whatever happened in the past, whatever. We're back alive now. Things are really fucked. Let's just get back to doing what we do, right? And it's just really cool. I love it. I just reread it the other day, and I freaking love that whole little era right there at the end, just before House of X happens. Then House of X happens. You probably know what happens, what that's all about. If you're watching this still at this point, you know what House of X is. They're on Krakoa. Moira. Turns out she's a mutant. Never was before. Apparently she has been the whole time. Her power, when she dies, she resurrects reality with her, right? So like, yeah, you get and what happened, this is at this point, she's already done this, I think like 9 or 10 times. Oh yeah, 9, because it's House of X, 10, yeah. So the 10th time, finally figured out the way to do things right so that mutants can have a chance at not being wiped out. She's done everything from sided with Apocalypse in one life, became like his wife, basically, it looked like, to, tried to kill all mutants. Like she's tried everything. She just wants to solve this mutant problem, so to speak. And then finally she accepts that she is a mutant. She goes to Professor X. They start this whole long-term plan that's pretty wacky. And you end up with codename Mulligan. You end up with no, you didn't miss it. We're about to get there. Whoops, not that one. Nope, we're about to be there. You end up with the X-Men, the mutants, all living on Krakoa. One of the brilliant things about the Hickman status quo changes is that he paid tribute to the history of the X-Men in a lot of ways. Everything from Krakoa to, it's just, I'd have to sit and think about it, but there's so many ways that it pays respect to things that come from before. And And then a couple of things happen that really, really, really change the status quo for mutants, like in a way that's never been done. Number one is they have their own nation. Not like before when they had like their own little island off the coast or whatever. Like, no, they have their own nation now. And the difference there is that because Krakoa can grow these plants that they can do all these crazy things with, crazy in good ways, they create medicines that are good for, they can extend life by 5 years. They can treat diseases of the body and mind. And this is the main thing that Professor X smartly does that, that really made them, they wouldn't have lasted 4 years in the comics if he hadn't done this, which is they get involved in capitalism and they start giving these medicines, selling these medicines to other nations. And it basically creates a situation where they have leverage. They have power to, kind of almost not force, but like to encourage other nations to take them seriously and to see them as a sovereign nation. And most do, some don't. And so, yeah, that's the main thing is they establish themselves as a legit nation. The other thing that really changes things, but not really, but kind of, resurrection. They now have the ability to resurrect dead people, dead mutants. Of course, they've always had that because dead mutants always come back anyway. But the cool thing about it is that it kind of fixes death in comics, or at least in the X-Men, because death has been broken for a long time. Since Superman died and then came back, death is broken. You can't take death seriously when somebody dies in the comics. But, and there's no way to fix that. There's no way to put that genie back in the bottle to where like people actually believe it again, right? But what you can do is put stakes and rules around it. And that's exactly what Hickman did with the 5, which are 5 mutants, Hope being one of them, who can create these eggs and Proteus there's a whole process. And they literally revive these mutants because they've realized, Professor X realized that Cerebro has been storing the consciousnesses of mutants this whole time. So they create a new body, basically a clone body, and then this backed up version of the character, the person, they put that in there, and we hey, you're back. Yeah, that was a thing at first. It was really concerning because it was like, is this Xavier just the maker? No, he's not. It's Hickman likes big helmets on dudes, I think. It's just what it is. That it's just Hickman's design aesthetic choices. You know what I mean? So let's look at that era now. So yeah, you get Xavier, this big dumb helmet, but actually it's pretty cool. I think you got Magneto's in white, so he's a good guy now. No, the cool thing that this does is it basically meets Magneto's and Xavier's goals halfway. Like both of them get what they want essentially, because Xavier wants to. Xavier has always wanted to coexist peacefully, right? Magneto has always wanted to exert their superiority, and they kind of get both. No. I mean, Cerebro has always kind of looked like that. It's just this is the first time that he's literally walked around with it and as like part of his costume. So yeah, I think they did actually in the first issue. I read it. I read the first issue of that, but I don't remember if they literally met. Maybe because the Illuminati's involved, including Xavier. Anyway, no, oh yeah. I mean, Magneto's been awesome the whole time, honestly. Like, did you see in when what's his name? When the Inhumans, what was that guy's name that attacked and fucking dominated all of Araco? Magneto had his heart ripped out, right? Spoiler, he had his heart ripped out, but he didn't die because he literally created a metal heart for himself to keep himself going as he continued to fight the battle. Uranos, yeah. So now, granted, as soon as he had focused on anything else besides just like keeping that heart pumping and stuff, he died. He did die. But for the fact that he kept himself going with a fucking just an impromptu metal thing to pump his blood for him, it's fucking crazy and awesome. One of the coolest things Magneto's ever done. Yeah, Apocalypse in a suit. Yeah, that was when I knew things were really different, right? Was like when Apocalypse comes through the gate and they're like, you know, and they shake hands. Apocalypse shakes hands with Xavier. And it's like, what the fuck is happening? You know that things are very different. And honestly, I expected Apocalypse to fuck things up way sooner. He actually didn't fuck anything up. Everything Apocalypse did was kind of based. I'll be honest. The first event was of X of Swords, 10 of Swords, whatever. And it was all around Apocalypse's, you know, history of like, you know, he had a wife, he had children. They had been trapped on Araco, this other half of the island that was once part of like Krakoa, and it used to be part of a large island called Okara or whatever. Long time ago, Apocalypse used the freaking Twilight Sword and split that shit in half to save basically people, everybody. And so his family had been lost in you know, this fucking other dimension basically for all this time, thousands of years, and they'd been fighting this whole time. And they're all mutants. They're just very different kind of, you know, freaky mutants. Yeah. The fact that was another one of the coolest things. There's so much cool shit, guys. If you haven't fucking read House of X era and just like all through this Krakoa era from, I think it was August 2019 to now. Oh god damn it, so good. One of the coolest things though is that Apocalypse becomes a real character. You know what I mean? Like he's never been a real character before. He's always just been like, I'm Apocalypse, survival of the fittest. I beat you. You know what I mean? I'm gonna take this guy's wings and make them metal. Like, there's not really characterization there. It's just more of like a presence and an ideology as a person, right? Now he's a character, and it's fucking great. Oh yeah, same for sure. Yep. Yeah. Anyways, so you get 4 years of, and I'm not being fucking hyperbolic here. I'm not saying this just because it's new and it's exciting. I've really thought about this. You get 4 years of some of the best comic books I've ever fucking read. Period. The status quo that the Krakoa era sets up for the mutants, I don't know, man. Like every single time I was in between the pages, the covers of a X-Men book in this period, I was at least content, if not just like thrilled or fucking, you know, it's compelling. Like there was never a dull moment, never a moment that I was like, oh, this is kind of stupid. Maybe they need to get back to regular status quo or something. Nope. All fucking great. Loved it. The things that they've been able to spin out of it, the fun, you know, like in the main X-Men title, they got to be superheroes again. Like, and the cool shit that they're doing, one of the things that came out of it is they figured out how to do basically combos with their powers. You know how the fastball special, right? You guys have heard of that, sure. That's kind of the proto version of what a lot of the mutants are doing now, where they can combine their powers and do really cool shit. That just it's fucking so good, so good. So, you know, Wolverine, good stuff. All of it. It's just all good. My least favorite stuff was toward the beginning, actually, because, you know, they had several series that they put out. One of which that kind of fell off for me was Hellions. Didn't love that so much. I don't think not a lot of people did, because it was one of the first ones canceled. Then what was there? That the New Mutants run was fine. I didn't love it a whole lot, really. Look at this. See, and this is what I mean, ambassadors, not gatekeepers, because Excalibur was like one of my least favorite ones. But that's because I'm not I've never been like big on magic type stuff, and I recognize that was still cool stuff that was happening. It's just not as compelling to me. It's one of the first ones I dropped, but I'm glad that you had it. I knew that there had to be people out there that were appreciating that. There's good stuff happening in Excalibur. Just not the one I wanted to maintain every month reading. So you get 4 years of that shit. Just great stuff. Sync has been fucking elevated to a prime X-Man at this point. He's a boss. He is a fucking G. He like his powers have just exploded. Sync, for anybody that isn't aware, he can absorb other people's powers. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that like nobody liked it or that it hasn't picked up in popularity since then, but it seems like sales were the thing that they were determining weren't high enough. No, because kind of the Krakoa is a bit like the Savage Land, except without the dinosaurs. No, I mean, there's no reason for them to go to the Savage Land. Typically, they might have gone there once or twice in this era. Somebody can let me know. Thank you. That's what I was thinking of, dude. Not Hellions, fucking Fallen Angels. Correcting me. Thank you. I was fucking mixing those two up. Fallen Angels is the one that's not very good. Hellions did have some good stuff in it. I am sorry. Because Hellions was the one with Sinister's wacky ass team. I'm sure it does, and that's probably why one of the reasons I wasn't so into it. I mean, like, I love the characters. I love Richter and Shatterstar, and like all the Rogue, Gambit, all good shit. I like that the relationship between like Richter was very respectful of Apocalypse and shit. It's all good stuff. That was very good. It was one of the best freaking events in quite some time. It was really, really good. It felt justified. A lot of really good moments for any character that it used. Everything felt earned and whatnot. So you're going to have to start with House of X Powers of 10. So this is what you're going to want to start with. Right here. This hardcover. Or, I mean, I guess you don't have to get the hardcover, but you got to start there. There's just no way around it. You can kind of go probably a lot of different places after that if you wanted to. But if you don't read this, you're going to kind of be lost. So do that. If you want, Bob, I can make a list for you of what I think you could check out and give it to you later on. But Leah Williams' everything is great. Fucking Leah Williams is one of the greatest things to come out of Marvel in I don't know how long. She's fucking fantastic. Her X Factor is fucking great. I will. Okay. I will do that. How about that? I'll fucking do it. Yeah. Yeah, the horticulture was the Golden Girls with Poison Ivy. Yeah. And spoiler alert, because we're really getting into Fall of X now. The horticulture, even though they aren't literally in Fall of X, they play a significant fucking role. I mean, there is Comixology, or Kindle rather, as it is now. If you have Amazon, you can get, just open up get the Kindle app. There's a lot of stuff that's free to read if you pay for Amazon. So like, I think it's not even that old of issues that become free to read on there. So like, I don't know, maybe a year old is whenever they start becoming included in, Well, the reason I always say Kindle is just because then you can get DC and all kinds of, you know, Image and other stuff too. So I try not to limit people. I try not to be a Marvel shill. You know what I mean? Oh, Beast is gone in some. He's gone in a dark direction. But you know, and that's another one where like people will complain that like, oh, it's so out of character. Not really. Beast has been, you know, if you look at his history, there's been some crazy shit he's chosen to do. Your Libby app? Huh. Yeah, the Stepford Cuckoos. Yeah. Yep. They're still around. They were actually hosting the Hellfire Gala. So let's check that out. Okay. So Hellfire Gala number 3. Each year since this whole era, Krakoa has invited, you know, like prominent, respected heads of state, humans, other superheroes, the Avengers and stuff like that, to this party. And you know, Emma Frost is generally in charge of it. It's sponsored by the Hellfire Corporation, which is like the corporation that kind of like part one of them that kind of runs everything involved with Krakoan medicines and whatnot. The first year was incredible. It's a significant event every year. Everybody's wearing fucking cool ass versions of their costumes, like these super badass powered versions of their, you know, it's super dope. We'll look at some of that. And then each year there's been some significant event happen while the gala's going on. So like, you know, just to give you an idea, the Avengers are always there, Captain America, you know, Iron Man, Tony Stark, you know, everybody shows up. Kevin Feige was at one of them. Yep, Kevin Feige was there. He literally asked Cyclops, "So what's your story?" Anyway, so then the second year. Oh, sorry, the first year was the year that they terraformed freaking Mars. Still one of my all-time favorite moments in comic books ever. I didn't see it coming. I should have, because the one-shot issue was Planet-Sized X-Men #1, and they took me by surprise. But you literally have Magneto, Iceman, Storm, and I think Proteus fucking terraforming Mars in the span of a few minutes to a habitable world that they claim as their own. And now this is Arakko. It becomes Arakko once they move all the Arakko mutants that came over after the. Yeah, God, there's so much continuity. And it becomes another planet populated with mutants. That is now. So now the mutants have claimed the solar system as a big, you know, that just taking their dick out and slamming it on the desk kind of power move. Sorry for the imagery, but I think it, you know, says what it needs to. Yeah, it's stupid. I mean, Twitter is going to be complaining about shit all the time. Yeah, Eminem was there. I remember that. Arakko forever. Fuck yeah. Storm has been significant. Yeah, she's getting what she deserves. She's been getting proper props. Hey, we're trying to focus on this though. You know, yeah, a lot of cool stuff has happened in the past, but cool stuff is happening right now. I'm telling you about. So, all right, I'm gonna pull open the images I got saved now. Actually, you need to give me a minute so I can rest my voice, get some water, and then we'll finish this sucker off. So in the meantime, what do I got? in the meantime, let's listen to Batman. No, not that. Let's listen to this.
Have a million spider folk, which doesn't even make sense when you consider Peter's origin.
I define everybody that's not Peter Parker as an unoriginal Peter Parker.
Talking about Peter Darker.
Fun fact. Eric used to like the character, even saying he's more than just a black Peter Parker, but he changed his tune when he found out he could make more money pandering to racist comic book fans who hate Miles Morales.
You're just actively making shit up, ha ha ha.
Did you used to like him? Not judging or whatever. Just curious.
No.
Do you like Miles Morales then?
No.
Yeah, some characters have been written decently that are of different races and have suited up in the suit of a hero or a version of that hero. One of the more obvious is Miles Morales as Spider-Man.
You're just actively making shit up, ha ha ha.
Miles Morales has his own background. This is far better than just simply making Peter Parker a black guy.
Talking about Peter Darker.
But Miles is an exception, make no mistake.
I define everybody that's not Peter Parker as an unoriginal Peter Parker.
And it will always be preferable to have another character with his own unique skill set, unique art. This is far better than just simply making Peter Parker a black guy.
I don't understand it.
All right, so I mean, yeah, the Reavers and Lady Deathstrike are still around, but like Deathstrike is not a mutant. Pretty sure. Is she? I don't think so. All right, so freaking one of the things that happens at the Hellfire Gala every year is the X-Men are voted on. Like, it's a democracy, full democracy. All of the minds of all the mutants are linked together psychically, and then everyone, you know, who if anybody has put forth their desire to be an X-Man, right, they are then considered by all the mutants as they're considered as being, you know, like whether they are going to be an actual X-Man on the team, the X-Men or not. The first year, you know, was about who you'd expect, I suppose. I know it was like Cyclops, Jean Grey, freaking who else? Wolverine, the Laura Kinney Wolverine. It's generally been some pretty cool teams so far. About half of them more or less the same. Yeah, kind of like the Unimind. True. Was she allowed on Krakoa? Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of the villains, so to speak, are no longer villains per se. There's a lot of mutants that you and I grew up seeing as like just the bad guys. These are bad characters, like terrible people that are just they're pretty chill now. Polaris, yes, she was well deserved as an X-Man. So this year was no different. It got off to the same kind of start where you're like, you know, people are showing up to the thing, and then the Jean Grey starts doing the announcement. Let's vote for the new X-Men this year, right? True. He's a hero now. Yep. Mystique literally became one of the Quiet Council. She was on the council. Freaking, she's, you know, had equal status to Professor X and well, not Professor X, because him and Magneto had a little bit of they had some secrets. What are you talking about? Oh yeah, she's still a B. Oh yeah, she's still doing some shady shit. Well, not anymore. Okay, spoiler alert: Mystique is not doing shit except laying at the bottom of a freaking. Okay, sorry. Anyway, that's the first team, right? And then the second one had Firestar and a couple. That's true. That's true. This also plays a big part in this book. That's true. Thank you for reminding me of that. All right. So this year, the team got voted on. And Juggernaut. Juggernaut is another character who's a human, but he's been allowed to live on Krakoa. And that is because everybody gets a second chance. Everybody gets a second chance. Okay? Apocalypse is there. Magneto's there. I mean, even freaking Shadow King was allowed there. The one motherfucker that was kicked off as soon as he reared his head was Onslaught. They were like, nah, we can't be having this shit. Can't be having Onslaught, right? Yes, Firestar and Iceman were on the second team. True. Good teams, good fun comics. Just like some of the stuff they were doing was just like cool ass mutant power displays. Like, anyway, so this year, Juggernaut, who had been working really hard to be a good dude, you know, he's the stepbrother of Professor X, and he's really trying to reform himself. He's even before this, in the thing I was talking about beforehand, the Uncanny X-Men run right before this, he was concerned about mutants. He was really trying his ass off to like defend mutants and shit. Way of X was great. So great. So great. I actually have the Spark, Dr. Weird, you know the Spark that Nightcrawler came up with? I actually have that printed out, the page that was in the book whenever he came up with it. I got it printed out. It's in a frame. Got a poster version of it. Love that shit. True. I don't think he was at this one. I don't think he was this one. True. Legion has been like one of the fucking glow ups too. Like, god damn, so many fucking characters that have been shafted or whatever and like are just getting prime spots now. Well, they were. Okay, so here's your team after the vote. This was the X-Men team. Well, okay, it's not showing it. What the hell? Come on, man. There we go. Here we go. 2023's team. You got Cannonball. You've got Talon, which is one of two Laura Kinneys that now did exist. That don't ask me. It has to do with the Children of the Vault and the time, compressed time and stuff. Yeah. There's now two of them. One of them's older. One of them's regular. She goes by Talon. The older one does. The other one's still Wolverine. Then there's Sync, who's just a fucking straight up boss now. He's just awesome. Prodigy, also pretty awesome. Frenzy, I'm not super familiar with her, what she even is about. Yes, the older one is the original one. The new one is the Crystal Girl. That's Dazzler. Probably heard of Dazzler. And then Jubilee. Everybody knows Jubilee, you know? And then the Juggernaut. Very happy to see him voted in. Like, holy shit. Juggernaut is officially a fucking X-Man. That's so cool. So nothing happened to her. These are just their costumes, right? Like, this is their fucking dressing up fancy costumes, right? Like, Cannonballs, it's like a lot of their powers are part of their tuxedos, more or less, right? Like, it's their fancy dress kind of thing. This is not like how she normally looks. She still looks the same. Like Cannonballs, you see his power is part of his thing there, and so is I think Jubilee's kind of is too. You know, like Jean Grey will have a headdress on that is literally held up by telekinesis. Storm had a dress that was like part of it was just a storm around her, like black clouds with lightning going through it and shit. So like it's pretty cool. Yeah. So you see here, you got they're all so happy. This is just a shining moment every year so far. Every time it's like, fuck yes, look at this team that all the mutants got to vote on it. This is so cool. It's a towering achievement each time. Well, let me make sure I got this lined up right. Yeah. Okay. So what could go wrong, right? You got what could go wrong? Well, what could go wrong? provide this context for anybody that's not familiar at all with what's going on. In the same period of time that Krakoa has existed and has been building its influence and then literally dominating Mars and becoming kind of the dominant power in the solar system, of course, there are still humans who hate and fear mutants. And of course, there's going to be some of them who are plotting against the mutants, right? Since House of X, there's been this organization called Orcus that has existed that is made up of like former AIM scientists, Hydra, all the fucking villain, even some SHIELD is in there, right? Like all the different organizations, former people, basically the bigots of those organizations have teamed up and formed Orcus. And they've created hold on, Sandman, hold on. They've created a new Nimrod Sentinel. Nimrod's a new, not a new thing, but they've created a new version of him that is kind of destined to wipe out mutants if they don't take care of it. So that's kind of been on the horizon this whole time, is like we have to make sure that Orcus and this Nimrod Sentinel aren't able to wipe out mutants like they want to, right? But yeah, they're fascists. Thank you. Fascists. So yeah, generally they've been able to do pretty well at keeping. They've had a couple of different times. Some different groups have gotten into Krakoa. They don't last too long. It doesn't go too well. It's pretty hard to get in there because only mutants can enter the Krakoan gates, right? Well, all of them except for Kate Pride. Oh yeah, Nimrod's back. He's back. And you shouldn't trust. That was really a stupid move. Like there was a whole event called Sins of Sinister that is just crazy. I don't even have time to go into that right now. But yeah, Sinister definitely did some shady shit, and that kind of also set the stage for what's about to happen. No shit. Like, how do you even trust a guy named Sinister? Like, it's one thing to trust Apocalypse, because like, okay, you can make a case that Apocalypse is going to happen. It doesn't have to be evil, right? But Sinister, do I have a pic of Nimrod? I think I do. I know that Sandman and a couple people in chat, they know I have a picture of Nimrod. You guys want to see a picture of Nimrod? Because it's literally the next page. This is the next page. You got Nimrod, who has, if you noticed, Jubilee here saying, "Look, what good luck, a falling star." It was not a falling star. Whoops. So you got Nimrod dropping in from orbit. Just dropped on in there, right in the middle of this fucking group shot. And these fucking X-Men are getting destroyed. They're just destroyed here. Yeah, say goodnight. No, bye-bye. Bye-bye, new X-Men team. Yeah. He's a dick. Nimrod is a big, huge dick. He's got kind of a broken personality. It's weird. Like, it's just, yeah. It's a fucking massacre. It is brutal. And right here, my heart sank. Like, okay, so let me tell you, the reason I said fuck you, Marvel, is not because I'm actually angry at Marvel. I'm upset. I'm fucking distraught by all of this and everything else that followed it in the issue. But I'm also very, very grateful, because the reason that I'm able to feel all these feelings about it is because Marvel made me give a shit about the X-Men in a way that I didn't think I could again. It's been this past 4 years, in my opinion, has been just a masterclass in, long form comic book storytelling, especially when it comes to characters that have existed for decades and many people thought were like, they're dried up. They're, kind of can't do anything new with them. Fuck that. This has been just a 4-year uninterrupted badassery followed by a fucking tragic, terrible, but masterfully executed takedown of everything that's been so awesome about it. So yeah. And we can look at some of the other stuff that happened. I don't think I have these quite in order. I should have, but let's see what we got here. Okay, so the first thing that kind of happens here is Jean Grey protects most people. So like the few that you saw get torn up there got pretty messed up. The book tells us that had Jean Grey not done a protective shield there that she did. Come on, why is it doing this? It takes so long to show the image after I share it. Come on, show it. There we go. Had Jean Grey not done that and done a TK bubble kind of thing, he would have just wiped out every single person in attendance at that party. Like everybody in that fucking place would have died, just based on him just landing. Thankfully, Jean Grey did protect everybody, you know. And then you get, you know, Jubilee gets her fuck you machine, and then he's like, no need to be rude, and then Jubilee's dead. You know, pretty much I think Sync and probably everybody else that was in that shot, maybe. No, not Talon. I don't think Talon died, but a lot of people died. Anyway, so then that's pretty tragic there. Then you get the first up to really take a fucking swing at Nimrod is the goddamn Omega level badass that is Iceman. Iceman's pissed. I mean, you know, of course he is. Come on. Share it. Show it. I mean, I see what you mean, Julia, but at that point, like, who gets to decide and what are the, you know, the criteria? I actually think it was kind of a radical and wise thing to try to give everybody a chance. And also, Sinister was necessary as part of the plan. I think that if it wasn't for the fact that Sinister's genetics work and stuff was necessary, then they wouldn't have involved him at all. But he was needed. Come on, share the thing. Share it. There we go. There's actually only 2 left. Yeah, that's what Sins of Sinister was about. There was like 4 or 5 different versions of them, and most of them got killed in some way or another. And they're the 2 that are left are involved with this. So the one at the head of Orcus is a guy who, through most of the X-Men run, he was called Dr. Stasis, and he had a helmet, and we didn't know anything about him. He was just presumably a new character. Come to find out, he is actually one of the few clones of Sinister, and he cloned himself at the turn of the 20th century, basically. And so all these clones are very different from each other. Yeah. So Dr. Stasis is the one that's in Orcus. He's also the one that, Black Club on his forehead. They all have different, card suits. So here you got Iceman. Fucking pissed. Oops. Damn it. What the hell happened? How did I... There we go. And he does a pretty good job here. He's kicking his ass a bit, but the thing about Nimrod is that he is super fucking advanced, from the future, friggin' Sentinel that is programmed to not just like he's programmed to in real time adapt to whatever mutant power, whatever mutant comes at him and shit. Like you gotta wake up pretty early in the morning to be unpredictable to Nimrod. And so he's got his little hot spiky thing. which he uses too. At a certain point, these are in order, so I don't have to keep taking time between each one. Sorry about that. I mean, if you want my opinion on this, why can't Teen Titans be as good as these current X-Men comics? One, because really very few comics ever can be as good as these current X-Men comics. And two, because the Teen Titans are not as cool as X-Men. Sorry, hot take, but Teen Titans are kind of like B level to me, to X-Men's A++ level. Come on, share the fucking thing. I'm really sorry, man. I'm going to try using OBS or something. I might have to, Bob, I don't know if you're still in chat, but I'm going to have to get a tutorial or something on OBS from you because this sucks. I don't know why. There we go. Having way too many problems. All right. Whatever spike thing he's got there is kind of just designed to kill Iceman, which it does. As you see, he stabs him with it. And then it just starts to basically melt him from the inside. It's pretty upsetting. That's pretty upsetting. Right there, where you literally see his face melting. And his boyfriend is like, oh my God. And yeah. So, and as Nimrod says, Omega 2 is dead. Where's Omega 1? Meaning Omega level mutant, and Omega 1 being Jean Grey. She's right here. And she to her credit, they do hit him with something he's not expecting, because I don't think he was expecting Juggernaut. Right? That's something that you kind of can't plan for if you're a freaking robot. Did chat freeze up? Uh-oh. Nope, there it is. Okay. So she literally TK drops Juggernaut on his ass, which is like, cool move, right? Then Juggernaut and Nimrod go at it for a while. I'm not going to show you every page, by the way. Just kind of like the stuff that really stood out to me. And then right after, at first Juggernaut kind of gets a couple of good hits on Nimrod. But then, inevitably, Nimrod fucks him up. It's unclear if he's dead or not. I don't think did he die? I don't remember. Now, keep in mind, the X-Men, the mutants have resurrection technology. So all of these characters dying, it's like, it's fucking terrible. But like, since Krakoa era has happened, you've had Wolverine has died a few times. Cyclops has died a couple times. They've all died, right? And then been resurrected. Even Captain America got resurrected during the Judgment Day event. I think he was the first human they ever resurrected. Nimrod, I do believe, is self-repairing. Yeah. Come on now. What the hell? I mean, I know Jean has died. At least she died, like all of them died. The main X-Men characters died in, well, I don't want to spoil it for Bob, but yeah, one of those House of X issues. Before they revealed that they have resurrection technology, they killed off all of like the biggest name X-Men. And it's like, what the hell? And then they reveal that they have resurrection technology. Come on, man. Fucking share the shit. There we go. Then enter Dr. Stasis and what's her name? She was once Omega Sentinel. That's right. She was just resurrected, but she's not a human. She is a mutant and an inhuman. So anybody that was wondering about that, by the way, recently, and it's a big deal. Everybody got upset because they're going to change. They killed her off in Spider-Man, and they're going to change her into a mutant from being an inhuman. Not really. She's still an inhuman, but she's also a mutant. There you go. That's what this issue starts with, by the way. The first thing to happen is, yes, that's it. Karima I don't know how to say that. I mean, I don't think that's actually true. Even if the death isn't permanent, they still take death pretty seriously generally, and then war, I believe they definitely take seriously. I mean, this sounds like an old man's read of comic books, honestly. It's bullshit. So yeah, for those of you unaware, did anybody want to know what happened exactly with Kamala? Because that's in this. She's a mutant now. That's generally what it's about. She still has her inhuman power. She doesn't know what her mutant power is yet, but it's kind of obvious probably that her mutant power is going to be whatever the shit is in the show, right? Well, I mean, yeah, let's just compare two random things, right? Like, fucking comic books are an ongoing narrative, right? Like, it's just the way it is. It's the nature of the medium, man. Like, stop comparing things that don't matter. So yeah, she was told that basically if she had manifested her mutant powers before she was subjected to Terrigen Mist, she probably would have died. But because she hadn't manifested as a mutant yet, and then she got Terrigen did, she one of if not the only time that's ever happened, I think they say. So yeah, she's gonna end up doing some mutant stuff. But yeah, then you get, they just waltz in there. They're not supposed to be able to waltz in through the gate, but they do. And Dr. Stasis / Sinister Clone is kind of a dick. And then he wants him to look into his mind and see what he's accomplished. So, then in slips the X Factor, pun intended, that nobody's expecting. If it wasn't for this character still being around, things wouldn't have been so bad. At this point, all that's happened is a few mutants have died that can be resurrected. The party's been crashed, literally. Some humans probably died too, but they probably could have resurrected them. The 5 are still around, but yeah, but then Moira shows up, and in the intervening time that Moira helped set up Krakoa as a mutant nation, she got pissed. Whole thing. That's what Inferno was about. The event Inferno. She was then rejected, kicked out of Krakoa by Mystique and whatnot. Whole thing. But she's a villain now. Just a villain, and she's also entirely a robot. She's a robot. And she kills Jean Grey here. Not just kills her, but stabs her with a knife that's got some what's it called? Blight swill or something. That's from there's so much canon stuff. And in that moment, you get the X-Men. What's left of them? Okay, so Sync is still alive. I guess that's Sunfire, I think. Then you got is that X-23 or Talon? I think Wolverine or Talon. That's right. X Lives and X Deaths. That's a really good event too. That's what it was. She got pissed that they brought Destiny back, even though it was Mystique that did it. She fucking literally did some Mystique shit to bring Destiny back. Yeah, the side of Jean struck down, detonated a bomb in the children of the atom. Every mutant launched themselves to war in a righteous fury. Victory would be theirs. How could it not? The enemy was not strong enough to stop them all. And then Moira is holding Charles Xavier's, got a knife to his neck. Stop them, Charles, or they fill the airwaves in the around the world with Dr. MODOKs, because MODOK is involved with this, by the way. Okay, so the medicines that I mentioned that the mutants had been, selling to everybody across the world, anybody that would accept them, and then even some that wouldn't. For the last year, Dr. Stasis had he basically poisoned all the medicine with these timed or these nano something. So basically, as soon as Dr. Stasis decides to do this, set this trigger, basically, all the medicine that all the humans around the world have been taking, Gordy, stop it, for the past year, was going to cause them to die horribly. And so they've got Xavier by the balls here with that, because he could have easily just let them. She could have killed him. Who cares, right? Kill him, then the X-Men kick her ass, and then that'd be it. But because they had that contingency, that whole thing in place, he has to tell them to stop. So he has to do that, and then he surrenders. So there they are, surrendering. You got Kamala up here in the corner. She's looking pretty good. And then they tell him that he has to mentally psychic command all of the mutants on Earth to leave the planet. So, in order to save a shitload of people, humans, so they're literally playing on Xavier's, thing of like not wanting to hurt humans. He has to psychically command all of the mutants on Earth to leave Earth. And then they, most of them do, but the X-Men, the people who are like, hardcore X-Men, race traitor. What are you talking about? Race traitor. That's stupid. I saw some people blaming Xavier for this on Twitter, and I'm like, what the fuck are y'all talking about, dude? Thank you. I mean, I'm glad that this is enjoyable, because I feel like I've just been all over the place, and I'm just nerding out all over the fucking internet, and I'm surprised there's still people watching, but thank you. By the way, subscribe and hit like. So then you hear about the red triangle of resistance psychic defense thing that Xavier taught the X-Men. And it's literally just, it explains it all. This is one of the infamous info dumps of the Krakoan era that Hickman started. It was mentioned in Immortal X-Men. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's responsible for the fallout with Moira, but he's also responsible for making this situation happen in the first place, right? Like, I don't feel like there's a way to condemn Xavier without just accepting the fact that there's going to be a certain chaos factor in any situation. You know what I mean? Like, he did some shady shit to make this happen, to even make Krakoa a thing, which was necessary, right? Like, there had to be some level of like maybe slightly unethical, or at least hiding things from certain people and stuff. Like, that had to happen if you were going to have any, chance at making this thing work. I feel like there's just, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but. So yeah, the few X-Men that they're like hardcore longtime X-Men, you know who they are. They're resisting these mental commands to leave the Earth, but otherwise all the mutants are they're fucking gone. They got to leave. You got Cyclops here. He's not in good shape. True. That is true. But I mean, at least I feel like in this Krakoan era, everything he's done that's shady has more or less been, even if it's misguided, even if he's made mistakes, I don't think it's been shady for the wrong reasons. Does that make sense? No, not at all. No. The maker is straight up just amoral. He has no fucking morals whatsoever. The maker is basically just evil. Like, there's a difference between making some some shady choices for what you believe is good reasons, and then just like abandoning all ethics and morals considerations in order to just do a thing because you want to. And that's what the maker does. Deadly Genesis, true. Yeah, that's pretty shady. Yeah, you get Cyclops here. I can't tell if he's supposed to have died or not. But so at this point, Jean Grey is dying. She's been stabbed with this dagger that's got this magic kind of poison on the tip, and it is doing something to her. But she is calling out to people as she's dying psychically. She calls out to Cyclops, obviously. No, that's not in the right order. See. Okay, we're almost through here. And then they get this this epic shot here, which is a mirror of a shot from House of X. This is a pretty cool callback. Blight Swill, thank you. If it'll ever show on the fucking screen, come on, man. It's so annoying. There we go. And you're welcome for anybody that was trying to avoid spoilers, even if you're watching now, getting spoilers. But I made sure to erase the Jean Grey corpse from the image that I used in the thumbnail. So I just got the Professor X, and there she is. She's dead. And there's all the mutants. You see the shadows behind them, the silhouettes. That's mutants leaving. And they don't have a choice. They're basically just being forced to. So this is Jean talking right now psychically. She says, "This is the price we pay. I wanted to bring in the others, but I'm out of time. Make no mistake, the survivors will find you. Mutants have always been hated and feared. Now mutants will hate and fear you." When they come for you. Oh, okay. So this is what this is she's setting up. She's talking to Firestar. Firestar has been chosen to be Orcus's kind of plant. So I think that this is actually, I want to say Pepe Larraz, but I'm not sure. I think there's a few different artists in this book. No, I don't know. Like I know they have this similar helmet, but you don't need to keep like thinking that there's a connection between them. All right, so where was I? Oh yeah, so Firestar, she is new to the X-Men. She's always had a rocky history as a mutant. She was seen as a traitor at one point, but she was welcomed into Krakoa and then was voted onto the last year's team of X-Men, which was a pretty cool moment. She gets to be an X-Man, cool, good for her. You know what I mean? And then, at the last moment here, Jean Grey kind of gets a backdoor into Dr. Stasis's mind. And she says, she reaches out to Firestar psychically, and she's like, "Look, I can implant somebody as I can basically write the memory in his mind that one of you has become an informant for Orcus, and that you've actually been an informant for Orcus for some time now. And she chooses Firestar. I don't know why. I mean, I think it says why, but like basically now Firestar is as soon as she does it too, like Sinister / Stasis. She's like, yeah, Firestar's been with us for a while, feeding us information. So she's gonna be kind of a rogue element out there working within Orcus. See how that goes. But yeah, she's telling her here she's gonna be hated. She's gonna be hated as fuck. I mean, to say that Xavier was Onslaught is not really an accurate description, honestly. I mean, you can point to a lot of shitty things that Xavier has done, but being Onslaught wasn't really one of them. It's more like Onslaught was the psychic repression, all of any dark impulses that Xavier ever had, kind of thing. Well, not any of them, because he definitely acted on some. His anger and whatnot, his anger towards humanity that he repressed. That was all kind of mixed with Magneto's hatred and anger, and that's what Onslaught was. But it wasn't literally Xavier. This is fucking cool. So Wolverine, as in Logan, was not in this issue until this page in the very end. He's been off dealing with Beast and all his crazy clones and so on. Oh yeah, Beast has been doing some crazy shit. Crazy shit. What are you talking about? Like, Xavier did the best thing he's ever done for the most mutants ever. He gave them the best, era of mutantdom ever. Like, I don't even know why he hasn't done anything. Yeah, I don't know. I can't keep trying to convince you here. It's like you're focusing on the negatives. Imagine that. Yeah, Beast has literally just fucking become Dark Beast at this point. It's crazy. And in fact, whenever she's talking to Firestar, and Firestar says, well, okay, but what if I get caught and I need to throw somebody under the bus, or what if I need to throw somebody under the bus or whatever? She immediately, Jean's like, Beast. Say Beast is, so basically everybody fucking hates Beast. He's yeah. He just went too far. He went power mad. He was the head of X-Force, which was essentially the Krakoan CIA, and he was in charge of security and monitoring, and just like he just went way too far with it. Way too far with it. As in, like, planting clones of himself in ancient monuments across the world so that they could awaken in hundreds, thousands of years and still be like that. He went a little far with it. Anyway, so Wolverine. This is Jean Grey talking to Wolverine. Oh, did he? Yeah. Okay. I guess I maybe missed that or forgot about it. Well, I mean, that's the thing though, because right, like, some people think that if you're gonna do mutant, protect mutants from hatred and stuff like that, that there is no lengths that you shouldn't go to make it happen. Like, if you're literally trying to, and I'm not taking a stance on this. This is just a moral question that I think is interesting, and thankfully I don't have to give an answer for it because I don't have one. But if you're trying to literally save your species from extinction, is there a moral case to be made for, killing a few people, right? I mean, like, it's basically the same thing as saying, as we had to kill some Nazis to stop them from, killing Jewish people and everybody else they were murdering and shit. Like, in a way, it's kind of an extension of that type of logic. I don't know. Yeah. So Wolverine here, I just fucking love this page. Love it. It doesn't even have anything to do with the plot, the story of what I'm doing in my Wolverine video, but I'm going to find a way to put it in there anyway. So, he's doing the red triangle of resistance here. And Jean Grey reaches out to him. He's like, hey, wake up. He says, oh no, what have they done? And she's like, we've lost everything, almost lost everything, but the fight's not over. She tells him she loved him, just like she did Cyclops. And then she asks him to do what he does best for her. And then, as Jean's life faded away, the Berserker awoke. Logan was surrounded by the best special forces in Orcus's ranks. They never had a chance. Fucking love it. Fucking love it. Just fucking... You imagine how fucking ham he went, right? Like, just felt Jean Grey dying in his mind. You know what I mean? Good stuff. Good stuff. Oh, and then here's back to this is the beginning. These are all out of order. So here's Kamala waking up from resurrection. She's like, a mutant? What? And she thought that was going to be the most wild thing to happen to her day, was learning she was a mutant. Yeah, there's just... He's fucked. They're all fucked. Like, I mean, at that point, you'd think you'd have learned. Don't do that. Don't stand up to Wolverine. Especially when you know that your coworkers have just murdered like everybody he loves. Like, what are you doing? Cool thing that happens at the end though. So if you've been reading it and you know about, yes, the 5 seem to be, I think they got the 5 out okay. And that's the one thing that makes me like, okay, so Mother Righteous, for those that aren't aware, it first seemed to be another clone of Sinister that he'd made, but turns out she's actually a clone of Sinister's love, like the woman he was, I guess, married to back in the 1800s. She seems to be an agent of chaos, possibly in favor of the mutants, but not always. It's kind of unclear where her allegiances lie, if she has any. However, she did take Krakoa, the entire island, and shrink it down and like put it into a little bubble dimension, kind of like Kandar. The one who first called him Sinister, yeah. Got it, yeah. Iceman and Juggernaut are the ones that really fucking, gave him a run for his money, Nimrod. But yeah, so the literal island of Krakoa has been shrunk and saved away, stored away by Mother Righteous with her magic powers. The mutant haters, they just saw that the island is gone. They think it's basically destroyed or sunk or something. They don't know. They're not worried about it. They're all happy. So the island is okay. It's tucked away. Also, the 5 did get saved by fucking, what's his name? Forget his freaking name. I always forget names, just in the moment. But yeah, so those two things being true, I think this is a temporary status quo shakeup, and I think that they might be maybe returning back to Krakoa at some point in the future, along with, Exodus. Thank you. I was trying to think of his real name, John Baptiste. Yeah. But he saved them because he worships hope. He literally worships hope. It's kind of funny, but anyway. And he's another character who I never really gave a shit about, but they've given him a personality, and he's like actually interesting now. It's pretty cool. They do have a chance. But so if you've been reading it all this whole time, from the very beginning, it was established that Kate Pride, it's Kate now, don't fucking call her Kitty, couldn't go through the Krakoan gates. She's the only mutant who literally just can't go through the gates. The first time she tried, she broke her fucking face. she just fucking slammed her face into the gate and couldn't go through, and they couldn't figure out exactly why. And it's kind of ironic because she can go through all sorts of technology and go through all sorts of walls and stuff like that. But when it comes to a mutant only gate, she couldn't walk through it. Well, that finally got followed up on a little bit. Not that they solved the problem, but so here at the very end of the kind of epilogue is that you've got White Queen is and as well as Wilson Fisk has helped them destroy some of the bad guys and escape, right? So Kingpin is right here with them. That's kind of interesting wrinkle. They're all trying to figure out where to go and whatnot. And they went to this gate hub here, and they can't get through. But the first one to figure it out is Emma Frost, as she pulls a Kate Pride and just slams her fucking face into it. And then Kate's like, see, that's what that looked like. Fun moment. Nice little bit of levity at the end of such a fucking... I'm telling you, it's an oversized issue. It's a big issue, and it's just full of fucking distraught feelings. Yeah. He's interesting now, for sure. Yeah, and then let's see. They're realizing that the gates are closed now. They can't go through. Stasis injected it with some kind of thing. You know what he injected it with? Something from horticulture that they gave him. So the Golden Girls that the X-Men fought early on in the Krakoan era, they're these Golden Girls of like Poison Ivy, with Poison Ivy abilities or whatever. They nulled the gates for mutants. Rogue then, grabs Professor X and takes him, and this is when he realizes that all of the mutants that were on Krakoa that he ordered to leave through the gates, that basically 250,000 mutants died because the gates were not going where I guess he thought they were. It was something like that. I forget exactly. But this is definitely Pepe Larraz. I can tell. Just, it's fucking great. Love his art. So yeah, he's a little distraught there, a little upset. And he tells her, tells Rogue, go and avenge me. Go and avenge them. Avenge Krakoa. And the fall of the House of X had begun. But that's a pretty specific word, right? Avenge. It's telling you what's going to happen. As in, she's going to join the Unity Squad. There's literally already released the covers for Unity Squad, or Uncanny Avengers, and she's on it, along with Psylocke. Who else? Cannonball, maybe? No, Quicksilver. Psylocke, Rogue, yeah. And it seems like they're probably going to be doing some avenging of Krakoa. Captain America, of course, is on the team. He has committed himself to being more of a champion for mutantdom than he has been, so that's good. Yeah, no shit. Like, I have not been this emotionally moved by a mainstream superhero comic in quite some time. Proteus he's had a couple of moments. Literally, if he's one of the five, so without him, we wouldn't have Resurrection. But you're right, as far as characterization, he's barely been involved or whatever. It's not like, you're saying like we didn't get his response to what was going on with Moira. That's true. Did we? Maybe we did, and I missed it because I haven't read literally every issue. But yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of books. So, like, whenever it was announced that this was going to be probably the end of this era, and even if it is, even if they never return to this version, the status quo of Krakoa and X-Men, I'm going to make it my fucking mission the next several years to purchase every, in collected editions, because I'm not a real fan, you know what I mean? But like, I'm gonna own every single book, every story that takes place within these years of Krakoan X-Men. I want to own them because I just, God, I loved it, loved it. Yep. Yeah, there's been a ongoing antagonism there. Just because, I mean, because there's right, like, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like, I don't know. I don't I guess. I mean, yeah, I'd be fine with that. I definitely would welcome Hickman to write anything. But like, I feel like the people that he got involved, that he put on this book before he took off, have done a pretty excellent job. Kieran Gillen, Cy Spurrier's fucking amazing. He's one of my favorite writers now. All the stuff that he's done, I want to go back and find everything that he's written and read it at some point. X-Men or not. Leah Williams, like, some amazing stuff. I was joking, man. Like, I mean, you watch my channel enough, you should know I don't even believe in that concept of a real or a fake fan. That's what I was telling that dude the other day that was like, oh, you're not a real fan. I'm like, I reject your premise. It's fucking stupid. It's not a real thing. Yeah, I'm kind of curious what that's going to be about. It looks like there's going to be a page of hint preview of gods in some upcoming Marvel comics. So we'll start to see what's about with that. And then, yeah, fuck you, Marvel. Fuck you, Marvel, but in parentheses, thank you. There you go. The subtext there. I'm very appreciative of this era. I'm appreciative of the chances they took. And the reason that I wanted to do this stream in particular and talk about this is because, like I said, if I would have started covering Krakoan era X-Men, that's what this channel would have just become that. And I'm sure some of you would have been fine with that, but like, yeah. But now that it came to at least a pause point on that era, maybe the end, I was like, you know what? It's time to really let my appreciation be known. And also, yeah, because the fact that I gave so much of a shit about what was happening in this issue speaks to the previous few years and what Hickman established as being fucking, game changer. I didn't think that at 40 years old, I could be this compelled by comic book characters and like concepts that I've been familiar with since I was 8 years old. You know what I mean? Like, I will still enjoy an X-Men book. I'd still enjoy them even when they weren't the best. It's kind of like pizza. Even the worst X-Men story is still better than no X-Men story. You know what I mean? I don't know. Just abandoned babies. What babies did he abandon? Cy Spurrier's doing the Flash? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Yeah, I didn't know anything about this Fantastic Four run that's apparently 10 issues deep already, and I kind of looked at the preview for the synopsis for the next issue, and looking kind of cool. I kind of like that. Yeah, Gillen, Duggan, Spurrier, Williams, freaking so many amazing creators have worked on these X-Men books. Anyways, that's it. I'm all X-Men'd out. I'm X'd. You know what I thought was pretty funny was that this book came out pretty much the same day that Elon rebranded Twitter as X. And so you had Fall of X trending on Twitter or on X. And I was just like, that's funny. Deodato Jr. on art. Let me tell you guys, I know I've said this before, but like back in the 90s and stuff, I did not like Adam Kubert very much, his art. I just didn't like it. I actually oddly preferred Andy Kubert's art, even though now looking back at it, he's not the greatest either. But now he's clearly continued to hone his craft, hone his style, and he's like draws one of my favorite versions of Wolverine, top 3. Yeah. Wally West, huh? I mean, Twitter is just a shithole now. I mean, it's really, really stupid and terrible. And I'll say this again. I should probably kind of get used to saying this in every stream. Hopefully, don't get tired of it. But PSA: don't argue with chuds on Twitter. You should have not been doing it before, but I understand. But now, if you argue with a chud and their hot take, basically, if you argue with a blue check, because they are paid now for engagement. So you're literally putting money in the pocket of chuds when you argue with them on Twitter now. Don't do it. Don't fucking do it. It's not going to yield anything. The only person that gains anything is them, and it's money. So don't do it. It really is. I mean, in a lot of ways, it honors a lot of stuff. That's what I mean. Well, like it honors the history of X-Men in a lot of ways. It's definitely a status quo shift in the same way that Morrison's was. But it also honors, like, say the Whedon era of just being, we're superheroes now. We're focused on being superheroes. You also get that because the X-Men team was really focused on being legit superheroes. They wanted to legitimize mutants by being just superheroes, dealt with all kinds of problems, not just mutant problems. And it also pays tribute to, I mean, obviously giant size X-Men because Krakoa. It's all in there. It just, fuck. I'm going to have to do like a retrospective. And I know that's kind of what I just did, but I mean like a real one. There you go. It's a way to do it. It's a way to do it. They're just like children. It really is just that. Like, actually, and my girlfriend said I could say this. So my girlfriend's kid is a teenager. And they've been going through a lot. I'm not trying to talk shit on them or anything like that, but like they've been going through a lot. And a teenager in general is kind of hard to deal with. But in particular, this kid's dealt with some stuff that would fuck anybody up, that would put anybody through the ringer. And they've been pretty difficult lately. So like, you start to try, they have an answer for everything, and often it doesn't make any sense or have anything to do with what you're talking about, and they'll like deflect left and right, and it's just impossible to communicate with them they'll also try to say the most hurtful thing to you they can. You know what I mean? And it's like, I realized recently, I was like, holy shit, it's just like talking to a chud. So chuds are like 14-year-old girls that are, traumatized essentially. And that's pretty funny in a way when you think about it. Is Miles still wearing that new suit they gave him a while back? I haven't read any of his stuff in quite some time. Because nobody likes Miles. No, I haven't even read any Peter Parker Spider-Man. So, do you think are they bringing back, like, they're not going to literally switch him out again, are they? Like, it's just going to be Doc Ock again somehow, as from an alternate reality probably, or the past, or what do you think is going to happen there? So it's just Peter Parker? Is that what you're saying? Or what? You know what? I'll look into it. I'll wait until I can read it on for free. Nonetheless, got a couple new drops I'm about to add. See what you think about these before we get out of here. Got that one. All right, tell me what you think about this. Hey, motherfuckers. Hey, motherfuckers. Hey, motherfuckers. Huh? No? Interesting. Yeah, thanks, Matt. Have a good one. Really appreciate all of you who have been hanging out and letting me fucking just blab about X-Men, dude, because I love me some X-Men. And this run, this whole era has been very fulfilling to me as a X-Men fan. And I will I will look into putting together a kind of essential reading list, right? Of this whole Krakoan era, and I'll get that to you ASAP. ASEP? What does that mean? Right now I'm currently finishing up a video that's I think it'll be out tomorrow. Kind of an older thing. You'll see. Then I've got to go back to work on the Critical Drinker video, the Initiative video. That should be another week or so, maybe. Yeah. So, you know, I'll in my spare time, I will see what I can do. Did you guys want anything from? You know what? Let's just keep it limited. I'm not gonna do that. Just within this era is what I'm gonna keep it to. Same. Good times. Good times. Please on the list. Looking forward to the drinker video. Yeah. Me too. Let's see if I can find the thing I meant to find the other day and was not able to. Here we go. All right. Okay, so for those of you interested in the Critical Drinker video, what I'm going to play here on the way out is it's about 5 minutes long. As long as there's a few of you still watching, I'll keep it playing. But you got to promise me to be sure you're subscribed and you hit the like button. If you promise me, I'll keep it playing for the full 5 minutes. And I showed this the other day, but some of you might not have seen it. This will be the very end of the drinker video. So this is after we've all made our, we're making some pretty strong cases, arguments and stuff, the three of us. And then this will play. But yeah, thank you all, everybody. I appreciate it. I don't normally stream on Mondays, so the fact that you showed up and you wanted to listen to me bullshit about comic books, fucking love it. And yeah, see you all on Wednesday. It'll be me and Bob, Organized Chaos. Hopefully DJ Eric's Reloaded, Eric Debunks. Hopefully he'll be here. We hardly ever know ahead of time with him, but he usually is around. And then I think Willis Credia is going to be around, and he might have something cool in store. We'll see if he's able to do it. But yeah, peace and whatnot, and take care of yourselves and each other, and yeah.
What you can't do is lie about how the film constructs moments like these on a mechanical level, and that's what the drinker does here to cap off his video.
If you're gonna pull something apart, at least break it down accurately. There's no need for this kind of nonsense, especially when the critical drinker wants to come at things from a perceived high ground.
He'll do a video on something that's trending, something that'll get him clicks, and it's lazy.
Don't you see how this is just the inverse of what Anita Sarkeesian was doing a few years back?
The critical drinker is a dishonest hack. This guy doesn't actually have any real opinions. He will change his opinions in a flash. He will cover up things he said in the past that make him look stupid.
The truth is, the drinker has created a boogeyman. The modern audience is a malleable, fluid catch-all that he can blame in any and all situations. But most importantly, it's a boogeyman that his audience loves to hate.
Men who triumph against all odds and save the day? That's still basically every action movie being made nowadays. Just looking at last year, most of the top grossing movies all had men triumphing against the odds while looking awesome. Top Gun Maverick was the highest grossing movie last year. And not just that, but we also had movies like Avatar, Multiverse of Madness, Jurassic Park Dominion, The Batman, Thor Love and Thunder, Black Adam, Uncharted, Sonic the Hedgehog, Puss in Boots. All movies with male leads who, in your words, kicked ass, triumphed against the odds, and saved the day.
Critical Drinker's role in the right-wing grift is to intellectualize bigotry. Much like EFAP and a few others who are slightly more adept at hiding the bigotry under a thin layer of pseudo-intellectualism. He takes a little bit more care to act like he's actually reviewing the thing rather than just say, woke bad! But yeah, it's the same thing. I guess some chuds require a little bit more of an attempt at nuance in order to buy into the, anti-woke grift.
Probably stuff like that. What am I thinking of? But yeah, like it's I know it's like Chinese, I think.
The term asshat has not been better applied. Even if we dislike something, we should represent it accurately. And maybe when we don't like something, it's most important to give it a fair shake. And that by not doing that, we're degrading the entire format of talking about films on YouTube.
Will Jordan, since you apparently are watching our fucking content to some degree,
hey Mola, you should debate some of your haters on EFAP. Bring Organized Chaos up.
Organized Chaos came to mind, pretty quickly for you. What the fuck are you doing, man? Is this on purpose? Or are you a fucking moron?
I've got for today. Go away now.